together the vision of what this is and how it works. And then it's about feeding it to you piece by piece after that, because working with social media can sometimes feel completely overwhelming. We can definitely take it on. You just got to take it step by step. And step number one is this webinar, and then know that each of you that are coming on here, if you've started a trial with StreetText, each of you has a coach. That coach is going to walk you through personalizing this to your account and give you a little bit more one-on-one attention to make sure you get connected to the proper resources.
Okay.
So let's roll. What do you think, Marcus?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So we're living in the day and age of something called the attention economy. We're living in the day and age where getting people's attention, capturing people's attention is becoming a lot harder because their attention span is scientifically less than a goldfish. We actually have the attention span that is decreased to that below a goldfish, which is why it's good to have our cameras on too, because it keeps us attentive to one thing. Because it's easy to get your attention going all over the place. So where do we go and meet people? You know, we're also living in a time right now where we're 6 feet wearing masks and Starbucks lines. It's really hard to start conversation, meet new people in the traditional ways that we've always done it. Door knocking might have been something you've done. Open houses might have been something you've done. Parking into a neighborhood and just randomly knocking on doors is one, very time consuming, and we can still do that, but we can do it digitally on a platform that people are living on in inordinate amounts of time on a daily basis. Facebook, everyone's face is in the book. The only way you're going to meet new people on Facebook though, is to use the Facebook Ads Manager. So you might already have a good friends and good reach within your Facebook friends list. We're talking about people that are not on your Facebook friends list. So you have to use the Facebook Ads Manager to meet new people, and particularly when you work with that radius that Facebook gives us. It's a 15-mile radius. So anytime you're using ads on Facebook, you're required in the Housing Discriminatory Act to work within a 15-mile radius. So that's what we're going to focus on, 15 miles from where you are. So has anybody used the Facebook Ads Manager before? We like to call it, if you have used it, talk about needing some Baileys in your Keurig machine. The Facebook Ads Manager is the labyrinth of frustration and confusion. It's being built more and more for people that have gigantic marketing teams that can go in and have someone full-time look after the ads account. So what we've done is we've basically taken templates and ads that work, and we've kind of interfaced on your behalf with the Facebook Ads Manager. So don't log into the Facebook Ads Manager. Don't get lost in there. Don't try to launch your own ads and waste all your money testing all the different creatives. We've already tested it all. We've already seen it work across North America. We've pulled all the stats on the ads, and we know that some of our ads are getting like a 60% click to contact ratio, meaning 60% of people clicking on it are leaving you some form of contact information. So what you do is you log into StreetText.com, you launch our templates, and we're going to teach you specifically today how to have success with those templates, because there are a couple little secrets that'll change everything for you on Facebook. Even if you're seasoned and you've been doing this for a while, Facebook watches your ad very closely in the first 24 hours. And what happens in that first 24 hours in terms of audience responsiveness means everything to Facebook. So you can have an ad that's amazing, just hit the wrong audience and not have great results. So we're going to teach about how do you use our templates to split test and launch ads and get good results, and how do you read those results. On the other end of that template, when you launch it, it's connected already to funnels that are built in. So the landing page, you've heard about landing pages, is getting people to click and then they go on your landing page, they end up in your funnel. You don't have to connect all those things. Our system has it connected. You launch the ad, the landing pages are already connected to it. When they click through on your ad and they leave their info, our system already starts to automatically respond to them. So it's going to send out a series of emails and text messages to that lead as they come through. And the most important part of that is you get to personalize that information that's going out to that lead. But more importantly, sometimes you just don't know what to say. You don't know how to work with a Facebook lead. Our community, I was like yesterday, I was just smiling ear to ear. We had a mastermind, and one of our people came on that's in our community, and she shared how she's been having amazing success putting stuff together. And then she said, oh, I'll do a class on that. And then people were like, what? So she's setting up her own Zoom class. This is somebody who has nothing to benefit from, but she's pulling the community together over stuff that's working and helping people kind of just do what she's learned how to do. And that's our community. So sometimes you don't know how to work with a Facebook lead. We're also going to introduce you to the community of people who are using our system, launching ads and learning how to get good results, but more importantly, collaborating over the idea on how do you follow up with these leads? Like what's the best thing to say in that text message? How do you respond to an email? When you give someone a CMA, do you give them the entire CMA or do you give them a partial CMA? So all of those questions are things that our community is constantly sharing on. But the first thing we need to do is get you fantastic ads, getting you good leads coming in. So we'll cover that lead, how to get that ad up and running at good results on that, and then we'll take it from there. So we were going to use Kim's account. So Marcus can pull up Kim's account and we can walk into her account and get that all rocking for you.
All right. So when you get into the StreetText dashboard, everybody starts here. And a couple things you want to do before you kind of just start generating leads is, I mean, I personally think is you want to be the lead. You want to experience the process as if you were on Facebook, scrolling down your Facebook news feed, clicked on the ad, you're the homeowner, what's happening? Because if, you know, that's the experience that they're going to have of you. And if your experience doesn't line up with the way you want to narrate that experience, it's going to be a disconnect. And you're going to figure out, oh, why are these people not talking to me? So a couple of things to look at is if you go to your ad section, when we were talking about, you know, Facebook, you know, the ad manager side of this being the labyrinth of confusion, well, we try to make it as simple as possible. Ultimately, you're looking at some, you know, key stats. Number one, obviously your Facebook ad spend. You want to know how much you spent on your particular ad. There it is in the ad section of your dashboard. So as you're running an ad, it's going to show you, hey, you've spent $16.27 at this moment. Out of that $16.27, 17 leads have been captured. Now, we call a lead on the seller side an address. So basically, for every 96 cents you're spending right now on this particular funnel, Kim, that is producing an address. And then for every $2.32 you're spending on Facebook at this moment, you're getting an email at the minimum. And so what we love to see is click to contact ratios. I think one of the big things that you're going to look at when Ira was talking about 60% is how is your click to contact ratio? Ultimately, every market's different and unique, but one of the things you got to recognize is that if we're talking about this funnel, which you know, and here in at least in the trial you're starting with, well, if that's 6 out of 10 on average producing a address, 6 out of 10 clicks, then you should probably follow suit somewhat. And if anything, you got higher, you've hit a good one. So just to let you know, the average cost per address across North America, and that combines Canada and US stats. So I wouldn't, you know, if we combined all our home sales, what would the average home sale be? I don't know. We'd have to figure that out. But it's about $2 an address, $2.19 actually. And this is 21,698 people testing this particular ad and funnel. So that's some pretty good data. Basically, you're getting a 60% click to contact ratio when you set it up properly, a $2.19 average address, a $6.13 average email, $18.40 average phone number. That's average, and no one just is going to settle for average, but the average is also, hey, what about those $1 million markets in Beverly Hills and so forth, right? You got to incorporate all that in. So it's a funnel you can be confident will work if you test it right. And you're going to recognize the way you test it is ultimately the most important thing. You don't just go to the Facebook marketplace, say, I'm going to run one ad today. Whatever I get. I'm going to be subject to the ads results. No, that's playing luck. And you could get it right or you get it wrong. What you need to learn is how to interpret the stats early on and make sure they're following suit, because Facebook inevitably always is going to spend your money. That's what they do. They're just like, hey, put an ad out there, put an ad budget behind it. They'll end up spending it no matter what the results are behind it. So don't just let the ad run indefinitely if it's not giving you those results we're looking for. So heading back into the ad section, what we talked about early on, and the key is you have to recognize that in the United States, now it's actually starting in Canada too, 15 miles is a minimum targeting standard. So that means if you think about Allentown in this case, or any area that comes to mind for you, a zip code, an address, your preferred farming area, your backyard, your neighborhood, Facebook will say, okay, go ahead, put that in there, but we're gonna still throw this out there to 15 miles around there. So what the best practice would actually be to do a pin drop for your targeting, thinking about where you're willing to drive north, south, east, and west. And we're going to show you how to do that. Now, this ad is done well. I mean, so it's not, because you can run any ad you want, and ultimately, if Facebook gives it in front of an audience that reacts positively, in this case, it's pretty positive based on the results for comparing it with a $1 address and a $2.32 email, way above the averages. And then in this case, I'm looking at 20 clicks, 17 out of those 20 clicks have provided me with at least an address. So I'm like, you know, I think I'm doing my math correctly. 5 times 20, 100, 5 times 17, 85, 85%, right? That's pretty good of click to contact ratios. So, you know, we'll test against this for sure, but we'll show you the best practice ad. Now, if you look at our contacts, the contacts will be coming in. Anybody with at least an email has become a contact, and we also have an address only section. So someone submits just an address, and you're going to see what that looks like. They're going to be divided into addresses and contacts. It's in the address only section. It'll light up as blue if it's become a contact. And then if you go back to your contacts, it's going to show you everybody who submitted information, a little bit about that property, and of course, you know, we all love the phone number. So when you get Matthew with the phone number, Rodney with the phone number, Iris with the phone number, that's some good stuff. Now, going through the funnel itself, the way you can see your ad, if you want to see the actual ad, if you have one running, if you don't have one running, you will get it set it up. But if you have an ad running, you just go to this ad section and click on view your ad. Now this takes you into the newsfeed as if you were a homeowner, right? Scrolling down your Facebook newsfeed. Now, one thing to acknowledge, Facebook is not where people go to buy and sell things unless they're heading to the marketplace. Facebook is a place for entertainment, Facebook and Instagram. So when we go there, we're basically going there for mindless entertainment. And I think what you got to ultimately realize is that Facebook advertising is basically a passive interruption-based marketing tool. So if you're, you know, I'm sure all of you at some point in the day, go to your Facebook app on your phone. If you don't, then good on you, you have great willpower. But most of you probably click on your Facebook at some point in the day and start just scrolling randomly through your feed. And when you do, this is where these ads are appearing, right there in the newsfeed of that particular homeowner. It could be yourself. And why we use the map, it's because it's so familiar and it's so easy. We use it every single day with our map applications, with our phone application, wherever we go. It doesn't reek of the typical real estate language or marketing, you know, here's my home, you know, or a nice little home, and trying to say, you know, I'll sell it for you. The key is it's really easy to click through, which is why that click to contact ratio is so high. If someone were to buy your fill in the blank home, would you sell it, finding its value in the current market? Really, their eyes are like, hey, that's me, I live in that area. They're drawn down to find the value of your home. And at that point, one of the things to think about is, what is the experience from that homeowner on the phone? Also, if there's the view your link option, you could also view link to see what's the experience from the actual click on the ad into the first capture, in this case, the first landing page. Well, it's congruent. If you look at this map into the landing page, it's not taking them into a separate form where it's trying to capture all their information up front. You know, there is intention behind that. That's called a Facebook lead ad. We do run those ads as well, not for this type of funnel. And we do that with purpose, okay? This will produce, on average, 6 out of every 10 clicks will become somebody who submits at very minimum an address. So if I submit my address at this moment in time, it makes sense, right? Because you want your home value analyzed. So why would you ask for the phone number and email right there? It's like, I'm going to go on a date with a girl and I'm going to propose for her in that second. Usually you're going to get rejected. And that's the same thing when I call a Facebook lead ad. You got to start with some questions, some courting. The first question, obviously, and easy to give and provide in this case would be the address itself. Analyze my property. That automatically submits into your StreetText dashboard in that section in contacts where it says address only. Okay. What's next? The email. Of course, if you're gonna get an address, you want a place where you can send some information. That makes sense, does it not? Thumbs up, smiley faces over there. So the key is when that person puts in their email, it doesn't just say next. You have to actually click on a little box that says email permission to move forward. If you don't, you don't move forward. That's kind of your benefit right there, because it's now giving you permission to contact that particular homeowner. That activates an automatic email and a 9-month-long drip email campaign for you, starting with the initial email that sends out immediately, another one on day 3, day 10, down the road, right? You got some great stuff, and we'll show you how to actually really customize that. Surprise, surprise, what we're gonna show you is how to make that email auto send like this. Because guess what? You're digitally door knocking. You just got in their newsfeed. Knock, knock. Hey, who's there? It's me, John. I'm going to be working on your home value, right? And so the key is if you can humanize that process and experience instead of it being, let me give you the alternative, right? Because if I go to I just got an email from Kim, that's the alternative. I thought I was getting automated home value, probably in my mind as a homeowner, right? You just interrupted my news feed. You said I clicked to find the value of your home. Who are you? Why are you trying to do this? I don't know who you are. I was just curious, right? I'm just saying, get ready for those natural defense mechanisms, as opposed to what I just shared with you, right? This is what we can build together, and I think you can obviously acknowledge the powerfulness of this type of experience, especially if you're being genuine and authentic. We'll show an example towards the end of what that can even look and feel like. But moving beyond that email submission, that's important to know, because just like if Kim's getting $2.50 emails for every $10 she spends, that's 4 opportunities to connect face to face. Especially if you're working on how to, the science behind email, getting the opens, getting the plays, links that can connect to where you want them to go via your calendar, Facebook, you name it. Now, this is where it kind of, the icing on the cake, you get a little bit more information about the home. This is the next phase of the capture. So you're talking about the condition of the property, needs a bit of work, needs, a bunch of work. Whether or not you get that or not depends on if they get into this part of the funnel and provide that information. Age, updates, amenities, perhaps a recent reno, I could say new kitchen, updated floors, whatever they want or not want to put, like it's an option. Sell date. Immediately, 1 to 3 months, within 6 months, 6+ months, just curious, and refinancing. You're going to get a lot of people put just curious, by the way. And you know why? Because it's a natural defense mechanism. It's natural. I don't want to be inundated and solicited with a bunch of people trying to contact me. I'm just going to tell you I'm just curious, even though they could be ready to sell quite fast. So it's all about contribution and giving, and really, I like to say winning friends and influencing people. That's all you're looking to do, is you're trying to create a fun conversation and a genuine one that is all about them, not about you selling their home. And we'll talk more about that. Now, this is where I think the first part of the funnel where they really notice there's an actual person here. So if it's your brand, you have your brand slogan or something, and they're not going to notice unless you have your picture here, just like Kim. So we can work with you on updating that. But a couple of things you can do to make this pop a little bit more. One of the things, if you go to your settings of your StreetText dashboard and go to profile, there's a little area that says slogan. And slogan would be like your tagline. For now, I'm just going to put your friendly neighborhood expert. Definitely change that if that's not your slogan. And you've got your website. That's all good. Last thing I would recognize that you could do, and everybody should check to see if they have any, is if you go to your settings and click on Facebook pages, click on reviews on that Facebook page. If you have anything in there, unfortunately, we can't pull from like Zillow or Yelp or, Google or any of those things. Just good to check, because if you have any, we can make favorites in there. And then if you can, have a Facebook review, it'll automatically update in that funnel, and it'll show just underneath the sending me my value button with the Facebook review, which is nice, right? Credibility is going to get you some more submissions. Now, before I just want to check one thing. Cool, you did activate your conversation. So if anybody in their dashboard goes to their conversations tab, in this case, Kim already activated it, and you can say, you can see it says, sorry, who is this? This means that this lead has actually responded to her AI, which is an automatic text message component. And we're going to work with you on a little bit of role play, because if you use Julie correctly and you know her sequence of text messages, you can come in here and you're just going to respond because you chose a local number. You chose a number that those people in that area would recognize, but it's not your cell phone, it's an AI. And so they think they're speaking to your assistant. And, with that, naturally, we're going to show you what you can do to pass that conversation over to yourself. And so just recognize, like, you have, there's this all button, and then you have these two it looks like two chat messages, similar to what the conversation tab looks like. That means Iris, Matthew, Ed, and Rodney have all got a text message. They just haven't responded yet. So you can just simply pick up the phone or even actively send texts from here asking some more personal information. And again, you have your own coach that will help you work through that. So that's the experience from the homeowner's side. And, at the end of the day, we want to give you, we want to customize those emails with you. We want to help you realize that, with every contact that comes in, if you go to your contacts, and let's just go to Matthew for fun, and there's a little magnifying glass there. Now, number one, you can take notes, and you should with every lead, depending on what you've done with them. Also, you should click on that magnifying glass and check out the full details of that lead. So it's kind of fun when you can see like the neighborhood and the homes from Google Satellite. You can see that sell date for that person, right? You can see the address, the email permission that was given, any details that they provided. Property condition is good, they said. And you can kind of just review all this stuff, submissions. It shows you the time frame they came in, what they provided. Deals is more for you. You can add new, like it's like a pipeline. You can talk to appointment, listing, contract, closed. You can add in other things like email sent, conversation on text, right? Whatever you would want to do in here, you can add those type of pipelines. Social is fun if a lot of the time, if they have an email that was associated to their social media, say Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, Instagram, it's always good to see, because that could also be pulled in there and you can actually see that social there. So, but if you don't have it there, you should be also searching for them on Facebook and LinkedIn and Google and True People Search and all these other engines that you have. Cross-reference that information, of course, with your tax records and title and all that good stuff. Timeline kind of shows you what's been sent and open. It's kind of fun because you can hover your mouse and see like this particular person, open, looks like they're going back to that email. We'll show you another space to look at that. And then conversations, right? So conversations you can use right there to see what's being sent out, who's seeing it, and so forth. So just take notes on there. You can take notes on that particular area. You can put a little box, had a conversation with them. There's a, it's somewhat of a CRM for you. Now, that's the kind of the navigation in the back. And another thing you want to recognize is that as these come in, there's a full 9-month-long drip campaign built in. And the one thing that you're going to want to recognize in the beginning is that it starts with this one called after submission quick question. And then there's a day 3, and you want to know what's going to be sent out on the day 3. And we're going to show you how to turn off automations as well. If you like, hey, I already had a conversation with them, I don't want to get that next one. But if you go over here, you can see who's getting it and basically the deliverability in the opens. So it kind of gives you a good sense of interaction, right? It's like, hey, this person's been at it 6 times. This person's been at it twice. here's a couple other people. And then you're going to see a bunch of them has been delivered, but not open. So we got to figure out, hey, why didn't they open it? Let's go and send it another personal email and see if we could attach tracking behind it. So that's something to recognize. And again, it's pretty generic until we get your handprint on it. And we have an entire course that we want to give you that shows you how to do that. It's free and it's pretty easy to follow. Just simply, hey, go to this one. How do you put an email in, or an email signature? And because ideally, what you want it to kind of look and feel like is obviously have yourself there, maybe a nice email signature and maybe a link. Because I think the perfect email is open, played if you have a video, and clicked on if you have a link. That would be the perfect email in my mind, right? Any questions so far on this process here? And don't worry if it's like flying over your head right now. You do have, this is just the big 10,000 foot view. We're going to actually hand you off to your coach. And in that case, we'll get a little bit more hands-on. This is just kind of like a brief intro of the entire process, at least on the seller side. Okay, and heading back in there, also recognize, if you look at all your funnel settings, because there's a lot of little fun things here. I mean, you can look at, there's a help section and so forth, but all automations, when you look at all automations, this is where if you can edit this, you can see it's coming from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. You can change the time frame you want it sent out and so forth. It's adjusted for your time zone. And then it kind of just showing you the sequence of emails and going out to them, emails coming out to you for a notification, even text messages, right? Because if you scroll down to the bottom, if you're like, hey, I don't really like the way Julie's sending out that text, I might want to change it. Super easy to do it. You just go in there and start adjusting the text. So that's pretty cool. You can even adjust the time frame it's being sent out and so forth. You can turn off and turn on and off certain text messages. But there's 5 text messages that will go out through the week, and they will automatically stop when that lead replies automatically. Last thing, just so you know, if I look at any one of those leads and I'm like, I had a conversation with them, I don't want them to get the day 3, there's a little automations tab right on there on that particular lead, and you just turn that off. Just remember, it's irreversible if you do. So you can't turn them back on automation. So once you turn them off, they won't be set on any drip anymore. Okay, now into how to build these ads. So you're looking at the StreetText funnel. You can also call them ad templates, funnels. They're all built with automations, email, SMS, all that good stuff. Now, in this trial, you have 3 to choose from. We're going to highlight the seller one today, but if you wanted to try some buyer campaigns, we could work with you on that. If you're like, I have a listing right now, I really want to go market that on Facebook, we could help you with that. And they're all great, right? They all perform wonderfully. Moving beyond that, if you look at our member only templates, it gets a little bit more fun and creative, because now you're looking at a bunch of different options, including uploading your own images and stock photos that we already have built in for you. From buyers to sellers to listings to even customizing your own ads. It's never been so easy, and I think ultimately once you start experiencing StreetText and how easy it is to launch ads, within a matter of seconds, you can have it and then just be tracking your ad performance, because they're all been tested, tried, true. Meaning every one of them is going to show you the current stats on them across North America. So you're kind of like, let's look at this one, for example. This has got our highest click to contact ratio on the seller side of every one of them. This is one of our member templates right now. It's producing about a $1.89 lead, a $5 email, and about a $16 phone number. So it's pretty cool that you can see, hey, this is the one I'd probably want to lean on as I move forward. And so we'll work with you on that. We have whole classes and trainings to show you how to actually really dive into ad performance. But for most people, we start here, just in the simple one, tried, true, and tested. Again, 21,698 people that have tested it, and it's simple. The obvious is, like, for you, Kim, you had Allentown, but what you want to recognize, like if I were to just call this a blank template for all of you here, and we'll work with you on that. And you can go into map, you can go to satellite, you can go to terrain, pulls in the mountains a little bit if you have any. One of the first things I do is say, hey, don't just start putting Allentown in here in an address and start like zooming in and out of the map. What do you want to recognize? And Ira will work with you on this one, is dropping a pin is the first step to do, and then build the ad. So Kim, if you can unmute yourself for a second, if you don't mind, I have a question for you, and I have a question for everybody here in the demo. What would be the address or zip code that comes to mind of which you are willing to drive north, south, east, and west for 15 miles? And you could always move it. So it doesn't have to be perfect right now. We could always move this.
Okay. Let's say 18104.
18104. Allentown. Okay. So I open this map up so that you guys can all see, if I zoom in just close enough for you, we are not just targeting Allentown, obviously, right? 15 miles is a lot in and around Allentown. It's actually going to take you in Bethlehem. It's going to take you into Danielville and Statesdale and Germansville and, you know, Fredericksville and all these villes. And now, you know, there's like 20 neighborhoods and towns there, right? So it's super important to recognize for you, wherever you're located, what the Housing Discriminatory Act has done in terms of your targeting is concerned. Now, I mean, Kim, the cool thing is your ad is running well, and you can kind of go and analyze those contacts and kind of see, hey, maybe, you know, in some cases it's worth a shot to try putting Allentown and so forth on it, because you never know if Facebook's algorithm gets it right, but they're still going to force you in time to run the 15 miles. That's just what they do. So you want to get healthily comfortable with adjusting for that. So if you start here and you can see Dansville to the north, East Greenville's to the south, Crumsville, you want to think about that visual, because that visual is how you're going to actually then build your ad. And basically, once you figure that out, once you've really got clear with what your pin drop is, and you can move this anywhere you want to go. And part of the cool thing is, for anybody that's on the water or the ocean or in the mountains, you can kind of hack it a little bit by you know, throwing it out on the water and being just on the coast. But everybody has to run with the circle. So just get clear with your circle. You basically go up there to the top right. It'll take you back into this form. And I'm just going to copy this zip that you gave me. I'm going to click done, go back to the step, put that in here. And now I'm just going to basically zoom out a little bit. You know, if you zoom out a little bit, it perfectly sets you up for that 15 miles. Now, no longer are you putting Allentown up here on the city and or neighborhood. Really, you could leave it blank, because it's basically saying, if someone were to buy your home, would you sell it, find its value in the current market? You've already solidified your targeting. Your image is talking to those people because you solidified your pin drop. And now your image is zoomed out perfectly to adjust for that pin drop. And, you know, the fun thing is, like, we've tested this a bunch of times. You can do it. You might want to, we call it an A/B test. If you're going to try without it, you might also try and consider that if you go to a website called emojipedia.org, you can pull in little houses, and, you know, you can kind of make it fun. We are in the age of emojis, right? So if you wanted to throw in some emojis up there, little home emojis, if someone were to buy your home, would you sell it, find its value in the current market? You can do that. I just threw in 3 home emojis there for you. Now, ultimately, that is the best practice ad. You go next, your targeting's been solidified, you go next. It's already defaulted to $9, which has been tested actually since 2015. So at some point, $9 may be good for you. It may not. You have to test it. You know, if your lead flow is really great, you can adjust that lower. If your lead flow is not so great and you're living in, you know, in Beverly Hills, that might not be good enough at 9, because you're auctioning your ad spend against every advertiser on Facebook, not just the real estate industry, right? So it's really important to recognize. And then the estimated commissions, what you think you'd make on an average home sale out there. And that'll come into play a little bit later down the line when you're analyzing what your cost per lead is, because we account that you can convert 1.5% of leads with at least an email. And I think that's pretty fair to say, you know, online standard. And that you're going to get 5 times return on investment. So we show you how your ads are producing with those numbers in mind. And then you simply just deploy. And that's it. Now, Ira, I'll put you on the spot here. What that's a good ad. I mean, she's got a great ad. That's a good ad. What's the intention of running this ad and then setting up what we call the split test? What would be the benefit for Kim to run not just this ad, but an additional 2 ads exactly like this?
Yeah, we always say test, don't guess. We can guess that that's the best results in your market, but we haven't tested, so we don't know. What if we can get even better results? What if we settle on those results and think those are the best results? And meanwhile, by doing this split test that we talk about, you can get better results. Here's the thing. Every time Facebook launches, every time you launch an ad through our template, Facebook grabs a unique audience from that big blue circle. So you saw that big blue circle, they're randomly going to pick people. And then they're going to watch that audience reaction in the first 24 hours that's running, particularly the first 500 people to see it. And they're going to see how they react. And if that audience is extremely responsive, if they're clicking, if they're liking, if they're leaving comments, if they're doing a lot of stuff, Facebook then says, good job, you built an ad that keeps people's attention. It doesn't look like an ad. It looks like it belongs to the news feed. So people are clicking on it like crazy. They're using it. So they give you something called a high relevancy score, which is actually good. It means you're going to get a low cost from Facebook. They're going to encourage you to continue to advertise and push that ad out. But what if the other scenario happens? So we launched the ad a second time, exactly the same way. We changed nothing. Same image, same pin drop, same emojis. It's exactly the same. But when I click the launch button, Facebook doesn't pull the same audience. This is what they do. They pull an entirely unique audience compared to that first ad. What if that audience, you just landed on a bunch of bad news Nellies that day? Like they just did not really, they weren't attentive to your ad. They didn't care about your ad. They didn't click on it. Whoever that random audience was, they were really unresponsive to the ad. It's the exact same ad. However, Facebook's going to deem your ad as having low relevancy. You're not going to have as many leads come in. And then what Facebook does is after that 24-hour testing period, they continue to look for the same types of people that clicked in that first 24 hours. So do you want them to continue to look for a receptive audience that's clicking and leaving you leads, or an unreceptive audience that's clicking but leaving you nothing? And the answer is obviously we want to go after an audience that was really receptive at a low cost. Like I saw there was an ad I launched yesterday and it was a different template, but the 3 ads were exactly the same. One ad had 4 emails in a 24-hour period, and those emails were coming in at about $2. The other ad, they had 2 clicks, not a single lead. Both ads had spent exactly the same amount of money, but the one ad just fell in an audience that was completely unreceptive. And lots of people waste really good money on Facebook by leaving an ad running for a week, hoping it's going to get better. And Facebook's already made a judgment call on your ad in the first 24 hours. So you need to too. You need to say, this ad is working, that one's not. So Kim's already got great results, but we haven't tested. Maybe we can get even better results, and you can have an extra 1 or 2 people to talk to on a day-to-day basis just because you took the time to split test and see if you can maybe land on an even more receptive audience. So does that make sense? It's usually a good place to stop for our questions. It looks like it makes sense. Nobody's asking questions, Marcus.
So the key is Facebook is throwing a randomized sample in front. Like you got to imagine 15 miles is in some cases hundreds of thousands, not millions of people. So how could you ever assume that Facebook's going to get it right within the first 500 people reached or the first $10 of ad spend? If you get hyper clicks in the beginning, you've got a good one going. And then in the same time, like if you're just putting it in front of the wrong peeps and Facebook's having a hard time getting a click, you're assuming, well, maybe my StreetText is not working for me. And like, no, this ad is not working for you. you have to split a new audience, because there is an audience that wants to click on that ad. There's a lot of people out there who want to click on that ad. You just got to put it in front of the right people. And then once you get the clicks established, now everything becomes fun. And it's all about, let's customize automations, let's pull in video, let's talk about email signatures, let's talk about scripts, role play, how to use the text message component. And, you can be a great success story. I mean, we've been around for 5 years now. We have one client who's done triple digits StreetText transactions. I won't give you the exact number because that's showboating a little bit, but she's done really, really well. She's out of Fort Worth, Texas. And we have dozens of clients that have done double digit. But it's the gift that keeps on giving if you understand the top of funnel. The top of funnel is not about, I'm ready to sell I'm going to sell your house today. Like, the top of funnel is about giving, contribution, realizing it's all about their time frame. And you have to establish nurturing for that as well. Because if you can create a great conversation, what if that lead tells you I'm not going to be ready to sell for the next year? Do you have the tools in place to stay in front of that person? And there's a lot of great conversations we can show you what people are doing, how they're doing it, what their mailers are like, how they're addressing these address onlys and taking those into appointments, or an email only. How do you establish communication with that person to get the phone number? What about when you have the phone number, what's your call going to be like? How are you going to have a quick call that makes that person feel like they can talk to you and not that you're just trying to sell them something? So that's what we're going to kind of introduce you to. And here's the thing. You don't have to, in the beginning, I think that we encourage you to get with your coach. We're going to get you in the StreetText community. It's called the Facebook StreetText Insider Group. There's actually 2,700 members in here. Hey, there you guys are right now, live. And there's going to be lots of awesome things about what people are doing, how they're doing it, what integrations they're using, what their scripts are like. We always highlight our best agents and what they're doing, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Again, we have lots of free training, so you don't have to figure this out either. Here's a fun little example of what someone put in their first autoresponder. So the moment that someone gets an email, this is what it feels like.
Hi, I'm Marley with Elevate Real Estate. I got your request for the home price valuation and I am on it. Oh, and by the way, I left a link to my Facebook profile page below. I'll just be sending you a really quick friend request. Want to make sure you get a chance to meet me. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Now, you don't have to ask people for a friend request, but Marley is that type of personality. So, she knows if she can get on Facebook Messenger, there's the end game, because now you can track everything on Facebook. You have your opens, your scenes, your videos, everything. You can create your own list on Facebook. That's a whole nother conversation. But this is the type of stuff we can work with you on. I do want to highlight too that this is your first class. So moving beyond this trial, you also can come to our masterminds on Wednesday, where you can meet people that have been with us for years, see what they're doing, how they're doing. That meeting alone on Wednesday is what primarily I've seen drive people into a StreetText membership, because they're like, this is incredible. This is powerful. We share everything. There's no scarcity mindset with StreetText, because it doesn't matter who's doing this next to you. We're all sharing and contributing, because everybody can win on Facebook. Once that lead comes to you, it's yours. It's not going to any other agent. So you don't have to worry about that model of, oh, if I don't get it to it, it's going to somebody else. It's yours. Facebook conversion training. So you can come check out the Facebook lead conversion class on Tuesdays. We have a review your ad performance class, where you can come and get some good eyes and get to meet with the founder of our company, and he'll actually walk through your ad performance and suggest some other ad templates, even a custom ads class. And then of course, you have your own coach, and your own coach has their own way of training themselves, and they will send you their link so that you can actually meet Zoom to meet and not only start your trial effectively with the right ads, and we'll help you design those ads and get that split test established, but also review your ads. Okay, so lots of great stuff there. Now it's just a matter of putting it all in place, right? And so I think the next step is figure out who your coach is. Probably just text the last person that texted you. And then set up that meeting. Yeah. And of course, I'm sure everybody inevitably has the question, well, what does this all cost if I do decide to stay? And I'll let Ira take that one over.
Yeah, we're very upfront about the idea that long-term commitment is how you win when you're working with Facebook leads. So we reward that. Our costing and value is based on those who commit to a little bit of a longer agreement. And it's because, like, do people get listings in their trial period? Yes, but we don't want that to be your expectation. And sometimes that's at some people's detriment. Because what happens is they get the listing in their trial period, they think everyone's going to come in that easily, and they don't learn the follow-up process that multiplies over time, that takes someone like Donna Swansea, who was a school teacher and became a real estate agent, and through her process that she developed behind StreetText leads, now has done 200 plus deals with StreetText leads. So somebody like that, it was her process and her follow-up that got her to that position. It was her commitment to a long-term plan that got her there. So that's the key, is thinking long-term mindset. So we give you more value when you do that. So when you log into your account, you'll see there's a welcome dashboard. When you scroll to the bottom of that welcome dashboard, there's a little button that says ready to sign up. When you click that ready to sign up button, it'll bring you to our 3 different pricing platforms. So our 1 year is $19.20. That covers the cost of the entire year to use StreetText, to be part of all of our classes and community and everything that we offer. And then on a month-to-month basis, after that 1 year commitment, it'll renew month-to-month at $160. The 6 month is $1,020. And at the end of that 6 month period, it'll renew at $170 month to month. And our 3 month is $600, renews month to month after that at $200. Donna Swansea that I was talking about, you get her free process and course for free when you do the 1 year plan as well. We just throw that in on top as a little gift for that extra commitment level. So you need to figure out what your ads are going to look like for you in your market. We know that. We know what markets look like. We know when you land on a good ad, and we can tell you, hey, this is a good ad. You can stop split testing now and shift your focus in to leaning into the community to learn how to follow up best. And then once you establish what good lead flow is in your area, it helps you factor that into your budget, because your Facebook ad spend has to go on top of what you're contributing to your marketing for the year when you're considering StreetText as a platform. So our yearly membership, and then what is your ad spend going to be? There's people like Jennifer Salter who's sharing all the time. I mean, she's almost at 20 converted StreetText leads. And she's spending about, she said, $9 to $11 a day. That's her spend on Facebook. And she's sharing all of what she's doing across the last year to get to that point with her StreetText leads. So it's really about establishing what that looks like for your market. Sometimes when you have lead flow like Kim has right now at that $2, if we get it even better, you might be slowing your budget down a bit until you get your process in place and you're able to follow up adequately. And that'll affect your budget as well. If you're in a market like San Diego, you might be turning your budget up a bit. We had Darlene on our mastermind the other day, and she's like, I just want to deal with Harborfront. So she's built a specific ad, and she's completely fine with 20-something dollar leads right now, because it's giving her exactly the market she wants, and the return on investment for her is going to pay tenfold, so she can focus her attention on the more of the concentrated leads that she wants. So everybody will be different. We'll help you establish that in your trial period. That's why we set it up. Trial is really about learning the ad performance, catching the vision, and understanding there's a community to help you carry this out across into 2021. And there's people that have been having the craziest success of their life, even during this crazy COVID. And they're sharing all of how they're doing that. So we'd love to invite you in so you can learn all that.
Yes. Joe and Trisha asked, what about Instagram? Yeah, absolutely. Instagram is available. You can click on a little box, shoots out to Instagram as well. Now, I want to highlight too, one thing to know about the top of funnel is that buyers are phenomenal ways to go after too. And most buyers actually have to sell. So think about it that way. When you're running the top of funnel, you're getting to that person before they were even thinking about it. So a lot of buyers just want to know what's out there, but they actually have to sell. So you got to ask that question. And obviously when someone has to sell, they have to buy. So you got to realize that most deals, if done properly, are double-ended on Facebook. And that's just something to consider as well. So we'll work with you on that. We hear it all the time. If you're doing your business properly, you're setting up your style to be all about giving and contribution and asking the right questions, it's also a phenomenal referral business for you. So We'll work with you one-on-one. We'll make sure this trial is a phenomenal experience for you. And guess what? Even if you aren't ready to move forward beyond the trial right now, you have our training, our resources, our classes, our Facebook group, the Academy forever. So a lot of people will sit in the group and they're like, all right, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. I can't do it yet, but when I'm ready, and then they just move forward. So we just want to make sure you know that this community is always there for you. Sound good? Awesome. All right. Well, we'll be hearing from you hopefully shortly. We'll be reaching out to you. And if you have any questions, just get right on your phone right now and text that last person who texted you. Sound good? And if you don't have someone texting you, it's probably because you don't have a trial. So go to StreetText.com, set up your trial. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody.